welcome to episode 7 of the Anonymous Squadcast. With me today is, as you all remember him, Ertsi from Finland.
Hey guys, thank you for having me here as a co-host. I'm honored to be here with you.
Now, you might be wondering, where's Zitter? Well, he had a baby, and so he could not make it to this podcast this time. We're unsure whether he'll be back next week, but obviously he's not here, but not forgotten. So he'll listen to it too.
Yeah, he will. And hopefully it was Sida's wife who actually had the baby. And just big hand and congratulations to Sida's app and to his wife. I wish you all the best.
The best indeed. Okay, so for this episode, we've got some news. We're going to be talking about the recent WiiU update and release that is upcoming. There's some pretty interesting news about the zombie mode in Black Ops 2. We're going to have a little bit of PS Vita and PlayStation Network discussion. Of course, as always, we'll be talking a little bit about BF3 news, although things were a little sparse as this week and past week have gone, since we've already covered Armored Kill pretty well. We'll be bringing you a Madden 13 review, and our roundtable discussion for this week is on the economics of video games. So you guys know that Zitter had a baby. Zitter and his wife had a baby, as Ertsi so generously pointed out. So again, we do want to congratulate them. Ertsi, what have you been up to this week, though?
I've been playing quite much Armored Kill. As we all know, it came out 11th for PC, and I'm enjoying it so far. I don't know how many hours I've been playing it, but I'm enjoying it so far. And I'm also looking forward to Borderlands 2, which I believe it's coming out tomorrow, I guess. And I also ordered my Blue Yeti today, so there's going to be some superior sound quality on my channel and on my commentaries.
We're going to have you back on the show when you get that.
Yeah, most def. So, what have you been up to this week?
Well, you mentioned Borderlands 2, and I'm getting pretty excited for that upcoming release, as well as Torchlight 2 coming out later this week. So pretty much the past week I've been doing a lot of homework. My mom came to visit, so we went shopping. She bought me, a little bookshelf and a lot of groceries because you have to eat. Now, you mentioned that you've been playing a lot of Armored Kill. Now, I know you've watched my Armored Kill videos that were recorded on the PlayStation 3, and now that you've been playing it on PC, how do you feel, not that you experienced it firsthand on PS3, but how do you feel it compares?
Well, the graphics, of course, the graphics are on the different planet. That's, well, I didn't even have to mention that. But the videos gave actually a pretty good idea how the maps are. Of course, a couple of videos can't really describe the scale, because the maps, they are just so huge. But your videos gave actually a pretty good idea what's it going to be like. And well, let's just say I love them. And the Conquest Large maps on Armored Kill on PC, they, as I mentioned, they are extremely huge. Second, they look absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, so, you know what? I actually haven't played any of the Conquest Large maps on PC yet.
Okay. I was just going to ask you, because you have the hands-on experience on the PlayStation 3 and the PC versions. So how would you what would you say how they compare?
I think the biggest thing I've seen, and that's based on only playing one game of Conquest on the PS3, so I'm kind of throwing that, out with the bathwater. But in terms of rush, it's a lot easier to win on the PC. That is both offensively and defensively. I think we went on a 6-game streak or something the other night when we were playing both attack and defense. So it's very winnable if you use your squad play right.
Yeah, and if you have a good pilot, a good set pilot a good set pilot can change the whole round.
That's very true. All right, so let us move into the news for this week. And in my opinion, the biggest news announcement is with the WiiU announcement. Now, a little bit of backstory. I bought a Wii, I don't know, was it 6 years ago maybe when it came out? I didn't buy it immediately when it came out, but within the first couple months I had one. And it was my first step into the next generation console, which I say with a little bit of chagrin because was the Wii really next generation? I don't know. But the Wii U is shaping up to be at least a contender. Ertsi, do you have any initial thoughts on that?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I guess so it's going to be a contender because, specs-wise, I actually dig a little bit down, a little bit more into depth to this matter, comparing to PlayStation 3. PlayStation 3 has 256 system memory and 256 megabytes of video memory. And Wii U is said to have 1 gigabyte of main memory and 1 gigabyte of system memory. So in total 2 gigabytes. So memory wise, it's going to surpass PlayStation 3.
And I think that's a pretty spectacular, addition from Nintendo. For the most part, we've seen, I guess, high quality systems, but not necessarily high quality internals. People say that the N64 was one of the greatest systems of all time, but its specs were, I guess, mediocre compared to the technology of the time. Another thing that the Wii U adds is actually a Blu-ray drive. And the thing that's pretty interesting about this Blu-ray drive is, with the Xbox and the PlayStation, how every time you put in a new game, you have to install it to the hard drive. And this can take up, upwards of 10 gigabytes if you're playing Gran Turismo 5 like I did for a couple weeks before I deleted it. And not only is it a Blu-ray drive for the Wii U, but it spins 4 times faster than the PlayStation 3 Blu-ray drive, which means that the read and write speeds are going to be such that you really probably won't have to install anything to the Wii U console itself. You can just run it off of the disc.
Yeah, off the disc and of the main memory. The 1 gigabyte main memory which is there. And I guess it's going to be at least the DDR3 memory. So I guess it's going to be fast, and the loading times, as you mentioned, are going to be extremely short.
Yep. And some people are concerned because apparently they still think that playing GameCube games on your Wii is good. The Wii U will not be able to take the GameCube games into the system. However, Nintendo continually adds further to their online database of previous games. They range from the NES all the way up to including some GameCube games on the virtual network. So it's pretty cool that they're adding, to that.
Okay, so this was something new to me. So it's going to be possible, like download or buy or play the previous games. So is there going to be like something like PSN Store, for example, on Nintendo?
Yes. And for those of you who have a Wii, you already know that there's like a Nintendo virtual store. It's called WiiWare. And for the most part, it's cool and yet very lacking. I think that with the Wii U, they're going to implement a new system that is more like the store on the 3DS or the DSi. It's just a little bit more intuitive than the actual Wii store, from what I've seen. I know a lot of you guys might disagree, but I think it's interesting that we're going to be seeing such downloadable features entering a console. And, we've seen that in the releases for the PS3 and the 360, how they're putting full games up for download. But I think that Nintendo, since they have that wealth of previous games, it's really going to be something that helps them maybe more than the other competitors.
Yeah, I guess so, because Nintendo is like, well, this is a little harsh, but it's like shadow of something what it was earlier back in the days.
Yeah.
At least it seems seems to me. So.
Yeah. Well, they've kept their market share without, enhancing the video game world. So we'll see what the Wii U does for them. Obviously, it has the tablet-like controller. That's an instant that I'm pretty excited about. So you could be watching TV and playing your Wii at the same time. Because, me, I love multitasking, sort of. All right, so moving on to Black Ops 2, the sequel, of course, to Black Ops 1, the next game in the Call of Duty series. And though typically on this podcast we stay away from glorifying the Call of Duty series, I think that this might be something that is at least interesting in light of all we've seen with the developments of DayZ and WarZ. It is rumored that Black Ops 2 will be released not only with a single-player mode, but also a single-player campaign for zombie mode. In the past, we've played zombies in split screen and online, but there has never been a campaign associated with zombie mode. Ertsi, do you believe that this is real news, or what do you think is going to happen with this?
That's a interesting question, because well, first time I heard about this, the first thing which popped to my mind is it's like okay, they are just building up rumors, and they are just using the hype, which is like flowing around the DayZ and WarZ. But I like the idea, because, well, it's something different. Let's just put it that way. For the Call of Duty to have a campaign mode as zombies. I don't know. I haven't played too much Call of Duty games, but we'll see. It's not going to challenge DayZ or WarZ. No, never. It's those games are like so much more than just a campaign. But how do you feel like?
I agree with what you say about how it's not going to challenge DayZ or WarZ, but I think at the same time, adding a campaign, whether or not it's cooperative, is, I guess, a step in the right direction.
I'd actually like to see that the zombie mode, in my opinion, it should be co-op, because all the previous zombie modes for the Call of Duties, they were much more fun when playing co-op.
That's certainly true. And that was even true. They made an app for the iPhone and iPod Touch and iPad. And, you know, it was essentially the exact same zombie mode from Black Ops or World at War. And you could even play that over the network. So I think that they understand that zombie mode is about playing with your friends. So I don't really know how a single player campaign would really fit into their scheme of that. But I think it'll be interesting to see what happens with those developments. All right. So the next piece of news relates to the Sony spectrum of things. The PS Vita is supposedly going to get a firmware update tonight. This is being recorded on Monday. That is the 17th of September. So far, no details have been released on this update, but I'm sure, you know, something will change. But, you know, in other ways, the PS Vita is also growing. But are they in the right ways is the question I ask myself. We've seen the inclusion of many different PS1 games being released for playing on the Vita. And I think that this is both good and bad. It's good because some of these games were excellent. You know, there's Final Fantasy VII. There was the original Medal of Honor game. There were some other ones that are, you know, very popular. They're just blowing the top of my head right now, so I can't remember all of them. But, you know, they're including all of these really popular old games. And this is a similar concept that we talked about with the Wii U. You know, if you have something that works, release it again and charge people $6 for it. And so I think that at one point of the argument, it's very good to include PS1 games on the Vita. However, I think that if Sony relies too much on PS1 games, that they're not going to be preparing enough content for the Vita of the future. So it's great that we can look back to all the great games, but what are we looking forward to? Now, Ertsi, have you ever played Little Big Planet?
I guess I tried it at some point with my friend, but no, I don't have it. I haven't played it too much, so.
How do you think it would work on the Vita?
I'd say it would work actually maybe even better than on PlayStation, as far as I know.
Yeah.
I like the idea.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, I've talked previously that one of my biggest complaints is that it demands that you use the touchscreen. That's probably just because I'm not used to using the touchscreen. But I think if Sony really relies heavily on the big names from Sony to put onto the Vita, so we'll be getting Little Big Planet, we'll be getting the PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale game with the cross-play and cross-buy. So I think if we look to the bigger names, we'll be happy with the Vita, and then you add to that with the PS1 games that are coming out, and it might help. But we'll kind of see that as it goes along. In addition to the Vita getting more PS1 games, there are some interesting additions to the PlayStation Network. So PlayStation Network is getting Jet Set Radio HD, the remake of the old Jet Set Radio game. In addition, there's a new game coming out called Realms of the Ancient War. And I don't know that much about it. All I have is a picture in front of me, and it looks pretty cool. So I guess we'll see what happens with that. Also, PS3 is getting to download Borderlands 2 tomorrow, as well as SSX. So if you guys are snowboarding or Borderlands 2 fans, you will be happy with what comes about in the update tomorrow.
Okay, I guess we have had enough about the PlayStation Vita, PlayStation Store, and blah blah blah. Let's get to business and let's talk about Battlefield 3.
So in news this week, like I said at the beginning, it's been kind of, I guess, dull. Obviously, we could talk more about Armored Kill, but as we've had a couple, mini podcasts devoted specifically to Armored Kill, we don't want to overdo it with you guys. So the one bit of news we have is mainly for the Aussies, or the people who live in Australia.
Down under.
Down under, indeed. So, people from Australia had to pay more money for premium. That is on the 360 and the PS3. And so, DICE is giving them a refund. It's nothing much, but if you guys want to know more about that, you can check out the article that was posted at Aussie-gamer.com. They wrote this about, the price gouging of EA's Battlefield 3 and the overcharging for premium service. It was supposed to cost $50 in Australia, and they were actually charged $80 on the PlayStation 3 and $66 on the 360. So, especially with all of the current price drops that we're seeing with premium packaged with games, the Australians were speaking out. So if you guys want to learn more about that, you can head on over to AussieGamer.com to find out how to get your refund. And I guess the actual biggest announcement for this week, because the Wii U is, kind of inconsequential compared to the iPhone 5, which Ertsi knows a ton of information about.
Yeah, finally we get the new iPhone. I'm actually pretty excited because I still have my iPhone 4, which is like 2 years old now. Some good news. They removed the glass back plate of the iPhone 4, and actually it has a metallic aluminum whatever. Also a dual core processor and the new A6 chip, if I recall right. Have you heard about it? How much do you know about the new iPhone 5?
Well, I know that it was announced. I've had a variety of iPod Touches, but iPhones have always been a little out of my price range.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, just to throw something out there, in the early performance tests about the iPhone 5 and the new processor A6 chip in the iPhone, iPhone 5 actually outperforms the Samsung Galaxy S3. If anyone don't know, Samsung Galaxy S3 has actually quad-core processor running inside. So on paper, iPhone 5 looks a little bit slower, but it performs the S3. But these are just early benchmarks. I guess we are going to get some hands-on experience and hands-on news when the first pre-orders get their iPhone 5s. And actually, the iPhone 5s, when they announced it, all the pre-ordered iPhones were sold out less than 2 hours, I guess. So it was, I don't know how many items they had as how many items they had for the pre-orderers, but they It was just a blink an eye and everything was gone. And actually the prices for the iPhone 5, you said that they have been a little bit out of your budget. They are actually pretty reasonable. The 16GB version of the new iPhone 5, it's only $199. So,
Yeah, the actual cost of the phone isn't that much, but the problem comes when you have to pay for the plan. Currently, my cell phone plan is at $25 a month, and that is for unlimited data. So, if you show me a plan that I can get the iPhone 5 with that, I will gladly take you up on that offer.
I have pretty reasonable one in Finland with all the limited internet access and stuff. And I'm also paying for the iPhone too, so I'm going to get one when we get the new iPhone 5 to Finland and have some contracts for it. So
well, you'll have to come back and review it once you get your hands on. One thing that is interesting is that you said that the iPhone 5 sold out in 2 hours. Now going back to what we talked about with the Wii U, back when they released the PlayStation 3, GameStop said that all pre-orders were sold out within 2 hours. However, it took the Wii U a couple days to sell out. So it's possible that, maybe they just weren't expecting a huge announcement like we got last week. But, maybe more people are considering the iPhone 5 over the Wii U.
Yeah, maybe. I guess, it's Apple versus Nintendo.
Yeah, I guess it's,
so
not
it's
a very good comparison.
Yeah, a little bit what I'm thinking. iPhone, it's more like lifestyle nowadays. So it's a little bit bigger brand, but I'm not sure. But I guess the Wii U actually. I don't know, was it Wii U or PS Vita? I guess it was Wii U. But I heard that they had only like couple of like the actual consoles in each store.
Yes, that is correct. They had something like between 12 and 16 consoles in each store, whereas for the iPhone, they have pretty much as many as someone can order.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know the actual numbers on iPhones, so can't really give you any numbers on that one, but still.
Yeah, well, it will certainly be exciting when we finally get the iPhone 5. I'm really excited. I'm hoping for an announcement about the iPad mini. I've been looking at some of the smaller tablets lately, like the Nexus 7 and the Samsung Galaxy S2, or not S2, 7 27. But okay. If Apple puts in the same price range, even $100 more, an Apple product of their own in that market, I think that I would much rather go with that than one of the Android versions.
Mm-hmm. By the way, you mentioned in one of the episodes that one of your friends has the Nexus tablet. If I recall right.
Well, yes, it's actually Miss Nerderer has the Nexus 7. Well, we actually played an Android game, her using her tablet and me using mine, and she said that, it was Call of Mini Zombies. It's essentially like a little, third-person cartoony shooter where you shoot zombies or each other. And she said that it played beautifully, that there were relatively few glitches, and I was playing on my HP touchpad modified with Cyanogen Mod 9 for Ice Cream Sandwich, and I have to say every once in a while I got a couple of rubber band lag issues, so it's possible that actually having a legit version of Android is the issue there, or it's possible that the Nexus 7 is just that quality.
Mm-hmm. Okay, sounds interesting.
Okay, so in the review section, we have Madden 13. Now, I know that Madden 13 came out a few weeks ago, but I was just able to get my hands on a copy last week. And if you like Madden games, I have a feeling you will like this game. If you're wondering, I haven't bought Madden for 20 years. Is it worth me jumping in for Madden 13? I'd probably say hold on to your money for now. They implemented a lot of new features this year with connected careers, a new passing physics engine, which takes a lot of getting used to. And so I think next year Madden is going to be, I guess, less innovative, but more polished. So if you truly want the best for your money, I would probably wait until next year. However, I've been having a lot of fun playing with it. I don't have too many friends on the PlayStation 3 who own a copy yet. I think it's maybe 4 out of the, 80 or 90 friends that I have. And they seem to play it every now and then. But for the most part, it's not going to replace, your time with Battlefield 3. Obviously, they're very different games. But, it's fun to play some sports every now and then if that's your thing. Now, Ertsi, I know that in Finland, American football is not to be confused with real football. Mm-hmm, would you ever consider picking up a copy of Madden 13?
Well, yeah, the armpit football, it could be fun with some friends. So yeah, I could consider that. Though I'm not willing to put like too much money into it because, as you can imagine, the American football or the armpit football, which I like to call it, it's not a too big deal in Finland because even the football isn't like too big deal here. We usually play more like ice hockey and some like the soccer, if you may, as you stateside guys call it. But long story short, yeah, definitely if it's reasonable price and I could have some friends playing it, then yeah. But no, like if I want to grind it, nah, the sports games aren't for me to play like single player mode.
Yeah. Have you ever played a hockey game on your PlayStation or PC?
I used to play like the older like first one, I guess was I can't even remember its name. It was on Commodore 64. The ice hockey game. Yeah, I can't remember the name. It was Ice Puck or something.
Yeah.
Something like that. But yeah, I used to play some of the NHL games, but nah, they are not for me.
Yeah. If they released a video game about wife carrying, would you pick that one up in an instant?
Well, if they are going to release that kind of game, I definitely go for beta, and I just would want the beta access, make some YouTube videos of it, and I guess for the sit and giggles and for some laughs, yeah, of course.
Well, you're our resident expert in wife carrying, so I just thought, maybe you should get to the development of that most excellent video game.
Yeah, you never know. You don't know what the DICE or EA does in the near future.
Yeah.
You never know. Sports games for the win. I guess that's the EA's logic.
Yeah, and speaking of sports games, one game I would absolutely love having is Ultimate Frisbee. Ertsi, do you know what Ultimate Frisbee is?
Yeah, I know. I used to play. I have played Ultimate Frisbee, not like competitively, but with friends. Yeah, I have played it. It's quite funny.
Yeah.
Do you know if there's actually a game for it?
Well, before I answer that question, let me ask you this. If there was a new video game for it, would you buy it?
If I had the friends to play with, yeah.
Okay,
Then yeah, because I think that kind of game is more like those who actually play the Ultimate Frisbee, like IRL more. But for me, when it's like just every now and then with some friends, just to have some good time, I'm not like exactly the main customer for that kind of game because all the physical things are just missing. It's just frisbee on the screen.
Yeah.
Basically. So it's not opening up that much for me, but I guess for you it's going to be something more.
Yeah. So returning to your first question, is there an Ultimate Frisbee game available on the market? There actually is. They released it for the Nintendo DS, the first version of the DS, and it was.
I actually have. I actually have that one.
You have that game?
No, the first DS.
I'm pretty sure you can get the game for less than $10 now. And it's actually packaged with a disc golf game as well. So you can play Ultimate or disc golf. And as far as the gameplay goes, it's a lot of fun, but I don't think it recreates the real game of Ultimate Frisbee well enough.
Exactly what I was thinking too.
But here's something to think about. We've been talking about, will there be a new Ultimate Frisbee game? In the United States, Ultimate Frisbee basically just went professional. We have professional Ultimate Frisbee teams in various states and cities around the country. They typically are from the eastern United States, but they actually pay their players to play Ultimate Frisbee. It's their job. So it's possible that now we have it as an official sport, an official professional sport, that video game developers might think, hey, this could be the new Madden or the new NBA.
Yeah, it's definitely a step towards that one. I see it's a little bit long walk to that, like the Ultimate Frisbee to get to precision of Madden or NHL or FIFA. But yeah, it's definitely a step towards that one.
Yeah.
Well, are you actually planning a Ultimate Frisbee Pro career?
No. I played a lot through my college, and I've played a couple pickup games since then, but it takes a lot more dedication than I'm willing to give it if you want to go pro.
Okay. But you should give it a try. You never know. NOVAxDRAGON.
I know.
NOVAxDRAGON is going to be the next Mario Lemieux or Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah, probably not. Although they are broadcasting all the professional Ultimate games on the internet. They haven't gotten too many, ESPN contracts yet, but they're on the up and up. So we'll see what comes out of that. So since we're considering buying an Ultimate Frisbee game if they come out, our roundtable discussion revolves around the question, do gamers pay too much money? And this kind of arose out of the new WiiU announcement. The Wii U games will cost $60, and that is up from the $50 that Nintendo games have cost for about the past decade now. So Nintendo finally made the step to charge more for the game. And some people would say that this is based on the higher def graphics. So developers have to spend more time developing the graphics. Therefore, they need to be paid more. But in terms of game prices, in terms of downloadable content, online subscriptions such as Xbox Live or some of the MMOs like World of Warcraft, even new hardware. The Wii U is priced at $300 for the base model, $350 for the 32 gigabyte model, which comes in black. And how does free-to-play fit into this? Ertsi, you can answer any of those questions.
I'd say free-to-play is well, not exactly the future of the gaming, but I could see it's a big part of it, because the game prices are going up, as you said. They are referring to the high definition graphics and all that BS, and I'd say at some point people will grow tired of paying like too much of the games. You know what I mean?
I do.
I'd say the free-to-plays are going to act a big part of the game industry in the near future. What do you think?
I think that free-to-play games may actually alter the way we pay for games. Now, with that, I don't mean that the prices are going to change a lot, but they've even started to include the free-to-play mindset in games where you have to pay $60 to buy the game. So we've already talked about Madden 13. In Madden 13, there's the Ultimate Team game mode, which, if you're familiar with any game that EA has put out in terms of sports, you're familiar with this. You get to have cards, and these cards are players, and then you build a team based on the cards you have. Now those cards run out, and so you have to get more. You do generate income by playing games and, winning and losing. But you can also use real-life money to buy new cards. There's a legendary pack for sale on the PlayStation Store. For $20, you can open 5 legendary packs. And so what starts as a $60 game sort of becomes, it can go upwards of $100. Now, obviously, I haven't put any money into this type of service because in the end, it really doesn't matter to me. But what about future downloadable content? Each DLC for Battlefield 3 and Call of Duty cost $15. Now, for Battlefield 3, they offer you, new game modes, and it kind of changes the whole, I guess, feel of the game every time they have a new update. But with Call of Duty, they just throw you in a couple new maps. So I guess, Ertsi, do we pay too much for downloadable content?
Well, it depends. Depends a little. Before I answer that question, I have to ask you first, how much does usually a new game cost in the States when they come out?
On release date, the price is usually $60 in the US. Now, I just got Madden last week, which was, I guess, a week and a half after it first came out, and I got it for $50. I know that next week it'll probably be down to $40. So sales happen pretty readily, and you can pick up good games for less than $60, but as they are on pre-order, it is for $60.
Okay. You said $60 when they came out. Yeah.
Yes.
Usually in Finland, if you buy the retail copy of the game, like the physical copy of the game, well, it depends on the game, but usually it's around 60 to 80 euros per game. So the $60 in euros, it's 45 euros at the current conversion rate. But let's just say usually a new game it's around 70 euros when they came out. Yeah, and that's in US dollars. It's almost $92 of the same game, the physical game here in Finland.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. I know. So, what was the original question? Can you rephrase it?
Well, I guess,
Oh, yeah.
I was
You
talking
asked,
about downloadable content, but you bring up
yeah,
a great instance of, do games cost too much? Apparently, there's a giant, gap in what Americans have to pay versus what those people in Europe have to pay.
yeah. And same goes for DLC. It's usually like if something, for example, one DLC costs like $20, maybe $24.
That seems pretty high.
Yeah, but if that's the rate, it's usually the same amount in straight converted to euros for the same content, about the same DLC. So I'd say games cost too much, or the DLCs cost too much.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just my Finnish, honest, humble opinion.
Now, what do you think about hardware? Now, I know that you're mainly a PC gamer, and so hardware kind of gets to be a fuzzy issue because how much of it is for gaming, how much of it is just for everyday life, what components do you put in your computer matter. So it's different in the console region where you buy the console and you can upgrade the hard drive, but that's essentially all you can do. Do you think that we'll keep this strictly to console hardware? Do you think that people pay too much for their consoles?
At this moment, no. Because at the current state, the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, they are quite cheap at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
You can get one like under $200, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah. So, in my opinion, it's a good deal. Comparing when PlayStation 3 came out in Finland, 2006.
Yes, I believe
maybe?
it was the 6.
Yeah. I paid almost 600 euros for PlayStation 3 and a bundle with the new Metal Gear Solid for the PlayStation 3, The Guns of the Patriots.
Yeah.
That was the game I was looking forward almost a year.
It's funny. I got that same bundle in the United States for less than $600 US.
Yeah, so yeah, it's and it was actually a sale in Finland. It was only like month or 2 months later than PlayStation 3 came out, so it wasn't even the highest price. And my version of the PlayStation 3 was the 40 gigabyte version.
Oh man. So we have discovered a flaw in the, I guess, economics of video game pricing, and that's just that I was sitting over here in America complaining that I'm tired of paying $60 per video game, where you over in Finland have to pay, almost twice that for the exact same game. So I guess I have no right to complain.
Well, you have always tried to complain, but actually, that's an interesting point that the physical copies of the game actually cost quite a lot, or even the downloadable games, because that's the direction where the game industry is going at the moment, at least in my opinion. Personally, okay, it's cool to have the actual game. You have the box and stuff in your hand. It's that feeling when you buy a game and you look at the cover and it's so cool and Yeah, you know what I mean. But still, all these downloadable games, they are helping me, for example, because I can go out and actually buy a game from Amazon or any other place like Steam and various other places where the prices are much lower than if I go to a shop in Finland or buy the game from Finland. So it's good thing for us in Europe or in Finland that the cloud service is coming very, very strongly to the gaming industry.
Yeah, I think that will make at least prices more fair worldwide. But here's a good example. It's a story from my life. And it is pretty relevant since Ertsi's here, because the game is StarCraft 2. And Ertsi and I play this game together. And so if you go to any store, say Walmart, StarCraft 2 costs $60, or at least it did, a couple months ago. I haven't looked lately, but I assume it's still $60. If you go online to the Blizzard store, you can download it for $40. Now, I had to buy the European version so that I could play with Ertsi. Thank you for making me do that. And so I actually had to pay 40 euros. Now, at least it's the same amount, $40 or 40 euros. But the problem is that $40 does not equate to 40 euros. So I had to pay something like, I think it was $54 for StarCraft 2, just to be able to play it on the European servers. And so this whole price gap between the dollars and the euros, and then you throw in the yen from Japan, and I think it just gets crazy. Now, I don't know anything about the conversion rate of yen currently, but I've heard a lot of news about how games are just getting way too expensive in Japan, and I think that's part of what encouraged us to talk about, the financial aspects of being a gamer.
Yeah, I guess it like from the business kind of view about the whole gaming industry, because people and our generation and the next generations, like the youngsters which are younger than us, they game a lot, and it's so common that everyone games. It kind of makes sense that the games are getting more expensive because everyone is doing it, everyone wants to do it. So the game companies can just they can just like dominate the market or form some kind of well, not monopolies, but like alliances. They can just set the prices high and everyone will just pay them. I'm a good example for that.
Yes, you are. And that brings up the question. So if these game companies charged $20 less, say the new Call of Duty releases at $40 in the US. Whoa, calm down, everyone. It's going to sell the exact same amount of copies, within the, hundreds of thousands, of course.
Maybe even more.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's obviously going to sell way into the millions. I guess how much of a difference that would make as far as people buying it, we don't really know. However, in terms of their profit, they're going to get an extra $20 per sale, in addition to all the, DLC and the Call of Duty Elite subscriptions. And that adds up. If you sell 1 million copies of the game, that's $20 million. I'd love to have $20 million right now.
Yeah, I could use a million or two.
Yeah, I'd even share it with Ertsi.
Well, of course I would share it with you.
Yeah,
Cool.
whatever. So some of you guys might be wondering, how can I, as a consumer, justify spending the $60 premium price tag on a new video game coming out? And here is NOVAxDRAGON's tip. I think to myself, how much does it cost to go out to the movies? If I attend the matinee, we're talking $5. If I don't, it can be, between $10, even up to $20. And that is for an hour and a half to 2.5 hours of entertainment. Now, obviously, you don't go to movies every night. However, if you go to one a month or even two a month, that can, add up, and you can be paying between $10 and $40, and that is without snacks. I know that a lot of people in America only go to the movies to buy snacks, and so you're adding another $10 on top of each movie. By the time you get there, you're basically spending $60 a month if you go to 2 movies with snacks and you don't catch the matinee for 4 hours of entertainment. So here's kind of how I, justify it. If I play my video games for double the cost that I would have to pay to go to a 4-hour movie, so if I pay $60 for a video game and I play it for at least 8 hours, I at least feel justified. Now, obviously, with Battlefield 3, I've played it, 200 plus hours, and so, the $60 that I originally put into it, plus all the premium stuff, I've definitely gotten my money's worth in Battlefield 3. So this, I guess, is more about the single-player games. But Ertsi, what do you think about my theory?
Yeah, it makes sense, and I actually love the idea how you rationalize all the like you give a value for entertainment and the hours spent on entertainment. It's actually interesting idea, and I guess it makes a lot of sense because it's just how people see and do nowadays. Everything has a value. So in this new hectic era, how nowadays usually are, everyone is so busy and no one has really time. So you have to, even your spare time, you have to use it efficiently.
It's all about the budget. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's an interesting idea, and but I think you mentioned the single player modes. I think the games add more than just how much hours do you spend on a single game. If the game is a multiplayer, because if you play a multiplayer game, okay, you get the entertainment for the game, and plus usually you get very good friends.
Are you calling me a very good friend, Ertsi?
No, I don't know. I guess.
If I have, you're putting me on the spot right now.
Yeah. I'm just kidding. I mean, usually, for example, in Battlefield, the community is huge, and referring to 008 guys, for example, bunch of awesome people. So you don't only get to game and spend your free time by playing a game. You actually get some time to spend with your friends. And well, everybody knows that playing alone is a whole different story than playing with friends or playing with some couple of rounds of a squad rush on Battlefield 3 with your platoon members or your buddies. Don't you think?
Yeah. And that's actually something that is kind of very personal for me. This summer I started posting to YouTube, and I got really involved with the company 008. And I have to say, I feel a lot more, at least, fulfilled in my video game playing. I used to do it, in my spare time as a hobby, for some stress relief and for some entertainment. But now I do it because not only do I love doing it, but there's such a strong, connection I have to some of these people I'm playing with. So, you're definitely hitting the nail on the head there. The community can make your game one of the most cost-effective things that you can spend your money on.
Mm-hmm, definitely. And by the way, going a little bit back, how much time do you say you have spent on Battlefield 3?
Yeah, so I'm at like 250 on the PS3, 70 on the PC.
Okay, yeah. Nova just transferred to the PC gaming just on this summer, so he's a good player already.
Well, thank you, Ertsi.
Yeah. Well, I'd say you have spent your money quite well when you have spent so much hours and you paid for Battlefield and Premium, blah blah blah, all that stuff. I just counted how much hours I've spent on Battlefield 3. All in all, it's 617 hours. Well, I paid for Battlefield 3 on PS3, but that's all. Then for PC, I spent another Battlefield, Close Quarters, Premium, and all that good stuff. So I don't know how good my investment has been. I haven't really calculated it, but I'd say you made a good deal buying a Battlefield 3.
Yeah, because when you add up all I've spent on Battlefield 3, let's see, it probably gets to around like $160, maybe $170. And if I've spent 340 hours playing Battlefield 3, and that's just online, I have done a significant amount of the single player and co-op on PS3. That equates to basically 50 cents per hour. And that seems like a pretty good rate to me.
Yeah, I'd say so too.
Alright, so we've talked quite a bit about money and video games. We talked about free-to-play stuff, talked about the prices of video games and downloadable content. We talked about the price comparison between the United States and Europe, and a little bit of the Asian, though we don't have any experience there. We talked about the new hardware and if that is cost effective. Ertsi claimed it is, and I agree with him until they start charging into the thousands for them.
Yeah, and when the new consoles come up, and when they come out, then they usually are expensive, but later date, it's cost effective.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, like you can get a PS3 or an Xbox 360 for less than $200, and that is new. Now, even used, I got a Xbox 360 for $40. I guess in February. So, the deals are out there. You just got to find them.
That's a good deal.
It's a very good deal.
Mm-hmm.
And then I bought my Kinect for $80, so obviously it was less of a good deal. But, I can dance in my living room now.
I don't want to see that.
Yes, you do. I'm amazing. All right, so let us get away from my personal life and move into some Battlefield 3 tips. My tip for you guys this week is to be predictably unpredictable. What I mean by this is if you feel crazy you're doing the right thing. Now, not all the time. Obviously, when you're playing a really competitive round of Squad Rush, you need to stick to your fundamentals. You need to follow your normal routes and do all that kind of stuff. But you'd be surprised at how well playing unpredictably can do for you. So I was actually, speaking of Squad Rush and how you should always stick to your fundamentals, I was in a Squad Rush the other day. I was playing Recon. I was attacking on Grand Bazaar, and we were to the second MCOM. Now, my team had pushed into the plant room. I pushed further than that into one of I think it's the rug room on the right side of that alleyway. And my team all got killed. Now, I stayed where I was because obviously we needed a spawn point, but that's unpredictable. Rarely do attackers, before they plant, push beyond the actual MCOM. And it worked out okay. I actually ended up dying that time. So I guess that's a bad example. But, it was fun, and I had some good times playing unpredictably. Also, when you are predictably unpredictable, your enemies will start looking at really stupid things. They will stop watching the MCOM and instead, watch the bus or watch a direction that you can't even come from just because that's how crazy you're being. So, I don't know how unpredictable you play, Ertsi, but I'm sure you have a pretty good tip for us.
Yeah, not really anything like to be unpredictable, because I try to be, but I usually fail. My tip is about Armored Kill, because I've been playing it the whole week. A couple of things about the Armored Kill. I've heard so much complaints about how the Armored Kill is broken, how the different game modes are broken, how overpowered the AC-130 is, especially on Rush. Okay, first of all, try to adapt your playstyle. If you try to play Armored Kill as you would play the vanilla maps or the back to Karkand maps, you are not going to do very well. I struggled with this when the Armored Kill came out, but if you adapt your playstyle and try to learn from the game, you are going to do just fine. I just lost my train. Yeah. Now I got it.
Chugga chugga choo choo.
Exactly. About the AC-130 and how unbalanced the Rush is. I agree, it's unbalanced. But if you prepare yourself as losing on the defender side, you're going to do well, because it's so easy to lose when you're defending, because the attacker is just so overwhelming. So just, I'd say, until the DICE fixes it, just get used to it. And if you don't like it, don't play it. That's basic. Those are basically my tips for this week.
Yeah, and on top of that, this might be a, personal gripe, but it's about those people who join a server, and if they lose, they leave that server or try to join to the winning team. I personally think that this is a terrible idea. You need to play the loss. It's really, in my opinion, the only way that you get better is by losing. If you win all the time, nothing is pushing you to play better. Now, obviously, you can start winning more firefights because sometimes the defenders have better, weapons and stuff than you. But, I mean, still, don't just join a server expecting to win every round. If you care that much about your win-loss ratio, maybe you should, I don't know, play something else.
Yeah, exactly. Play Call of Duty.
Yeah, because you win all the time on that. All right. Thank you guys for listening. I want to, again, thank Ertsi for dropping by from Finland today.
thank you, Nova, for having me. And it has been a fun over an hour now, and it was fun to be here with you, and I totally do this anytime again.
And I'm sure we'll have you once you get that Blue Yeti.
Sweet.
Again, we want to send our congratulations to Zitter. We miss you, but we understand that now that you have a child, you have all these responsibilities.
And he has to spend some quality time with his wife and the newborn child.
Yeah. Although let's face it.
By the way, do you know if it's boy or girl?
I believe it's a girl, but I could be very wrong on that.
Okay, so new gamer girl it has born
Yep.
as well.
A new Miss Nerder. So you know, but if you actually think about it, now is the perfect time to play video games, because she's not going to remember her dad now playing with her instead of video games 10 years down the road. You might as well just hop on and do a podcast and play some PS3.
Mm-hmm. Well, hopefully we have like PS6 by then, but yeah.
In 10 years, you think we're going to have a PS6?
I guess so, hopefully.
Are we just going to skip straight from 3 to 6?
I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. All right, guys. You can follow us on Twitter. You can listen to us on iTunes or YouTube. You can talk to us at Skype, and you can find all of our contact information at anonymoussquadcast.com. I hope you guys had an excellent time listening to us. If you're in the car, drive safe, and have a great week.